Well, hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Call It crew, and welcome to another episode of Call It What It Is. Jessica Capshaw.
Well, Luddington, do you receive phone call out of nowhere, text out of nowhere saying, can I just talk to you for a second recently, just randomly? Yeah.
He
And
did.
do they have something
Yes,
in common when you call that person back, text that person back, and they
they
expose
do.
what their question and query is?
Yes, yes.
And what would that
Hmm.
be? Let's see if it's the same as mine.
It was about a little, or not so little,
Uh,
documentary that came out.
I was going to say a little documentary, A Very Big Liar.
Yes, yes. And it got us on this in big, huge conversation about people who appear to be one way end up really being another way and how shocking that can be and how much it can throw you. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I remember when I heard this documentary was being made, but that actually came after finding out that someone that was in my daily life at Gray's had completely lied about her entire identity, who she
Hmm.
was, things that had happened to her, but like a whole nother person, whole nother. And this says something about me. As shocked as I was, for some reason, when people lie to great lengths, I'm not as shocked as everyone else. What's that say? People have lied to me in my life?
Okay, so now I have a question for you. Have you had experience before in your life where someone has consistently lied or told such a whopper that you're like kind of blown away? Because maybe you've had experience in some way with that, or maybe not.
Yeah, I've had people lie. I mean, like again, early days, we've touched on this with
Mhm.
about dating, right? It just,
Oh,
because lying
yeah.
is, ends up being pretty cozy and feels like a nice little roommate for cheating.
Oh, yeah. That's such a funny way to put it. Yes, yes. I do feel like, unfortunately, that is a somewhat common way
Yeah.
of lying, right? But have you ever had someone where you're like, wow, they're not even like where they went to school, where they like almost
Yeah.
like a Dateline episode
Like an identity.
situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. No, never that deep.
Well, it's interesting because the Call It crew, by the way, seem to have had this experience, which we'll get into.
I cannot wait to get to these. Well, let me expose myself for a second. Maybe this might be why lying is always sort of like, Um, when I was younger, like little younger, like I don't know, from when I can remember, so probably like 5 until probably 9 or 10, I'd say.
Hmm. Hmm.
I had a very big imagination. And I would fly back and forth because my mother lived in Los Angeles and my father lived in New York, and I would have to go by myself, like on a what's it called, unaccompanied minor, and I would go, and so I would just like be sat next to a stranger, and my imagination would get the best of me, and I would tell them stories about who I was
Oh my God, that's
that were
amazing.
not real. I mean, lie. Like, I mean, again, I'm making it seem nice because I was a kid and I was telling a story, but I was lying. As a matter of fact, one time I told my cozy little neighbor who, they always are nice to the kid. And, you got to
Hmm.
imagine me just sitting there all by myself with like my two little pigtails.
Yeah.
I told someone, which is so silly because like my mother is an actress, was an actress. I told someone that I was Meryl Streep's daughter and I was flying back to her. I'd been on location and I don't know what I don't
Stop.
know. Yeah, it's a full lie. Like,
No.
again, so when you say identity, like I have lied. I have memory of being a child who lied. Now, this story ends in
Wait, have you ever ran into Meryl and told her that this is you were her long lost
no,
daughter?
you heard it here first. This
Okay.
is the first time that I've admitted to this lie. If
Okay.
we're going to be really, really clear, because guess what? No one really cares. No one's really like put my feet to the fire and said, "Did you ever say that you were Meryl Streep's daughter?" To which I would have
Yeah.
said, "Okay, fine, I did."
Yeah.
No, I did. I lied big. I lied a lot, and it wasn't just on airplanes. My mom always said that I had a lying face, like my eyes kind of look like they're gonna pop out of my face and pop out of my head, and like nothing moves on my face, like nothing, none of my facial features move. And when she asks me, like, hey Jay, like, did you have some of the Haagen-Dazs chocolate ice cream last night? And I'd be like, no. Yes, I did, for sure, I did.
So you gave it all away in your face.
Completely bad liar is what I am.
Very bad liar.
I mean, it would be nice to find that person who sat next to me and see if they believed I was Meryl Streep's daughter.
That's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
If you sat next to a little blonde chick and you were like, you ever heard this story? Contact us. I am also not a great liar either. I get very sweaty. It makes me very uncomfortable. I'm very bad.
Yeah.
It makes me not feel good. I think what's scary, and this sparked conversation this week, it is scary when someone can lie so easily, so confidently
Yeah.
that you really cannot tell. And there's a whole Machiavellian element.
I was going to say, yeah, because there's a harm element, like an intention to do harm.
Yeah, and there is no part of them that feels sorry.
Right. Yes, they are completely unrepentant. Well, what I was going to say that buttons up what my big lying phase and the reason why I don't anymore as of what, 10,
Yeah.
is that I remember, and it must have been traumatic because I don't remember what it was, but I got caught in a lie. And
On the flight?
no, not on that flight. Not on that flight. When I got picked up, it wasn't Meryl Streep. No, I got caught in some lie when I was younger that felt so bad and created such deep shame inside of me. Like I was so ashamed to be who I was and have said what I said and all the things that I truly were like 9-year-old, 10-year-old Jessica making a true promise to myself that I would never lie again in my whole entire life. And that like to my own like detriment, I would tell the truth. I don't know how long that lasted, right? Like we all tell white lies right now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's silly to call them white lies. I think we say things that might not be complete truths, to make massage certain situations or not, say things that would be unkind, right? But yeah, I thought it was interesting that in my development I went so far one way and I realized what the repercussions of lying were at such an early age that I decided like that was not for me and I was not going to feel that kind of shame again. And I'm guessing that people who lie about their identities and do these really horrible things, like the woman that's starring in that documentary, I'm guessing that they do not feel remorse or shame about lying.
No, and that's where it gets very creepy, if I'm being honest.
And like moves into mental health issues.
Yeah, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't, like it's hard because you do watch these documentaries, right? Like you watch these documentaries on Dateline and you're always, I'm like this. I'm like, I would have known, right? Like I would know that person's lying. And then you have an experience where it basically feels like you're in a Dateline documentary and you realize like, I did not know. I truly did not know. And I think that that kind of throws you for a loop because then you feel like your own instinct on stuff is way off. And so it makes you question this is what I don't like about it. It makes you start questioning yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're not just questioning that person now. It's like, why didn't I see that? How did I believe that? And I don't like the self-doubt. And then by the way, it can affect other areas of your life where now you're meeting somebody and they say something that sounds maybe outlandish about themselves or even not so. And you're like, is that true?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've experienced someone that has lied about the most wild, crazy things.
Yeah. I have to say with Finchy, who's the writer who was in question in the documentary, it never occurred to me to not believe her. I mean, there was never a moment where I was thinking, yeah, like the things that she lied about, you could never in a million years imagine questioning.
Yeah, this is somebody that lied to us. I mean, and I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience about many things, but about cancer, right? So that's something that you don't ever imagine someone could ever lie about.
And then offered up specific information about her experience with it, what it felt like.
But now I'm interested because you said that you were not surprised. You were surprised, of course, but it wasn't like a gobsmack. Like I was like,
Yeah, it's so hard to explain. Like, of course, I was surprised that of course, I was surprised that she wasn't who she really said she was, and she was not
Hmm.
reporting any experiences that were actually hers. Um, but I wasn't surprised that someone could do that. And I sort of just felt like, oh, well, like she was really good at that because I believed her. But again, I was not sitting in the seat of the woman who she married and represented a completely different life too.
That's a whole
That
different,
feels like a movie.
that feels like a movie for sure. I will say this because I have been asked to comment on this documentary. Very strange experience. Seeing yourself in that kind of way. And I don't personally don't want to talk about my experience on set with this person. It's hard for me to even, with this person. But I will say that what happened, I will say one little piece of information that nobody knows. It's not in the documentary, and I will share it here on the podcast. What I really hate again about this is it makes you go back and sort of question all the different things. And this person, I remember going to Hawaii for the first time, and I was so excited that I could afford going to Hawaii. I was never, able to afford something so tropical and glamorous. And I told everybody that I was going to Kauai, and I was really excited. And I was going with my boyfriend, who's now my husband, obviously. And I think it was about 3 days into that trip, and Finch was sat at the bar in the hotel.
What?
Yes.
Not the airport bar, the hotel where you were
The
in Hawaii?
hotel where I was in Kauai sat in the bar 3 days into my trip.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, she was with somebody else. And I just remember thinking it was the most random coincidence.
Had you told her what hotel you were going to?
I had probably told, it's funny because then you start to do this, right? You start to think back about like, who did I tell? I had told so many people where I was going. I'm sure I would have told her. And is there a world
Stop
in
it.
which like she was just happened to be on vacation at the same time as me at that hotel in Kauai? Sure, there's definitely a world where that happens. People run into each other. Like it's
Yeah, I
crazy.
don't know.
But I don't like the now questioning of whether like, I'm that going back and sort of reevaluating all those things.
Did she check in as Joe Wilson?
It's not even funny.
Just wondering.
God, I won't talk
Oh.
about set. It doesn't make me feel comfortable. But I will share that story that happened in my personal life with her. Yeah.
Well, I saw her all the time on set, but again, I completely believed everything she said. There was never a moment of suspicion. I never thought that's funny that she said that like that. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And when I left, I remember having she came and found me, and we ended up having a really, really long conversation trailer, because she was so sad that I was leaving and wanted to talk
Mhm.
about it. And maybe she wasn't sad at all, Camilla.
Well, this is what I'm saying that we do. I mean, this is what I'm saying, like what is true and what's not true. And
Yeah.
I don't like having felt like someone was like that was in our orbit
No.
and not feeling like I sensed any of that, the truth myself. It just is uncomfortable and none of it
Yeah.
feels good.
I totally respect that you don't want to talk about the bits on set. It's funny to me when people behave like that, when people show themselves to be liars. I have a funny little like normally I think we've seen on the podcast or heard on the podcast that I like to find the sunny side of the street. I like to get a little
Yeah. Yeah.
optimistic. I like
Yeah.
to find the joy. I'm a little cutthroat when it comes to this shit.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
you lie
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
about who you are, when you do things to hurt people with your words,
Hmm.
I'm a little like done with you. And listen,
Yeah.
I believe in forgiveness. That's a very personal thing, and that's in relationship specific. But I mean, I do think when a documentary like this comes out, and obviously she's so exposed, I'm a little like, what
Hmm.
did you think was going to happen?
Hmm. I do not like us all getting caught up in it though.
One else, but no one did anything wrong. Only me.
No, of course not. I know. I just don't. It sucks to be part of the story. It's uncomfortable to be
Yeah.
part of the story. Yeah. Well, anyway, let's get to the Call It crew because you and I, we made
Let's
videos.
leave that bad liar behind and let's get into
Let's move on
some
to some other
juicy lie
bad
stories.
lies. I don't know how juicy they are, just outright terrible.
I know.
So, unfortunately, this is sort of weirdly somewhat common because we got so much feedback.
Yeah, we did really quickly too.
Yeah, and I just want to, before we get into it, I do want to talk about some statistics around lying, which I found kind of interesting.
Hmm.
So,
Get to
why do
it.
people lie? Lies, this is from the University of Wisconsin. They examined almost a little over 600 participants over 3 months. And this is what they found. People lie for a variety of reasons. And we can go through this together. The first is 21% lie to avoid others.
Hmm. And 20% as a humor. I don't like that kind of humor, by the
I
way.
don't like that either.
That's not, nope. I don't like jokes and pranks. How about that?
Mm-mm. 14% to protect oneself.
I get it. 13% to impress or appear more favorable. I
El-
get it, but also never works.
no, it doesn't work. Yeah. 11% to protect another person. Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
9% for personal benefit or gain.
Oof. That
Mhm.
gives me heebie-jeebies. 5% for the benefit of another person.
Okay. 2% to hurt another person.
Just 2%.
Hmm. I mean, I'm glad it seems like a small number, but also, ew. And then
Yeah.
5% for unspecified reasons or explicitly for no reason at all, which would maybe be the mental health bucket, right? Like when you're lying
Yeah.
or you're me on a Delta flight
Yeah.
across the country. 9-year-old me, just lying.
Okay, so let's get into some of the submissions that we got. I'm going to read the
Yeah.
first one. Ready? So, Anonymous wrote us and they said, so my dad is a big liar. This may be a pretty common story, but maybe not. When I was 19, we found out that my dad had a whole secret life outside of our family. To us, he was a quiet, shy, gentle soul, raising us as Reformed Christians, married to my mom for 20 plus years, very upright guy. But in reality, he had multiple girlfriends in other cities and even in other countries, one of which he would fly in from Europe. He was also a secret alcoholic and drug addict. We knew nothing about it and thought he was working, and we were just really poor.
Oh, that's the gut punch. Is it crazy? Am I crazy for being like, okay, all right. I mean, I've seen that in like a TV show before, right? Like he's got girlfriends everywhere, blah, blah. Flying in from Europe sounds pretty extravagant, right?
All awful, but like that there was a financial cost to their family.
What that they did not have money because their father was a liar and a cheat.
I mean, obviously, it's disgusting. I hate that he was with his mom. He was with their mom for 20 plus years.
And I'm sorry, as a reformed Christian.
I don't like that either because it feels like the mask, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, not only am I going to lie, I'm going to create this whole other persona to cover for the lie. This is where it
Yeah.
gets so creepy to me. Okay, go
Yeah.
to Sophie. This is terrible.
Sophie wrote in and said, when I was 12, a friend that my best friend introduced our group to told us she has cancer. I cried that evening thinking about it as I had a granddad who had had cancer and had seen what it had done to him. I was really worried about all she had said and done and eventually told my mom, who decided to pick up the phone and call the school asking about all these stories that this new friend had been telling us. It turns out she was lying about having cancer the whole time. She also lied about her little sister passing away, which to this day shocks me. I can't believe someone could be like this at such a young age. Wow.
This makes me nauseous. I don't know how, and again, we've had this experience, but I don't know how somebody lies about someone else. And it feels like the early signs of a sociopath. I hate to say it. I'm not diagnosing anybody, but like it feels like that's just dark.
Well, I think it's because it's the nature of her lie, right? Because
Yes.
again, like you can lie, you can make up stories. It's the nature of the lie. It's the nature of the lie being I had cancer and now I get all this attention and you feel terrible for me. And also my little sister died and you're going to give me all this attention and this. So it's just really, I mean, clearly This friend needs some help. I hope they got it.
And again, I feel like when the lies are that dark, right? It's it's if you don't have that sort of like I don't even know how to describe it. If you are not this kind of person that could tell these lies, it's so jarring
Yeah,
and feels so sick.
I know.
I don't know how else to just to describe it. Yeah. Okay, Rachel, I had a best friend for 3 years when I was in my last years of high school. When we first became friends, he confided in me that he was gay and we would go everywhere together. I feel like I know where this is going.
It's a movie, right? It's like
This is but it could be a horror
a
or
movie slash. Yeah, exactly.
we'd go on trips together and share beds. I get undressed in front of him because he was my gay bestie, except
No,
he wasn't gay.
gay. He wasn't gay.
He told me he was because he wanted to get close to me as he was in love with me. No, this is
Creepy.
gross.
Okay, so that's not funny anymore.
He let this slip to a high school teacher who took me aside to let me know as she was concerned about the situation. All this time, I'd slept in the same bed with him and got changed in front of him, thinking he was gay.
Ah,
No, this is a horror movie.
no, I know. I feel terrible that I went at it with levity. I saw it as like a rom-com where it was like the guy was actually sweet, nice, and Adam Brody-ish.
Yes, because there's probably been some rom-coms back in the 2000s where it's like, nice, bow, cute, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh my God, this is adorable.
yeah,
But that's a movie. And this is
yeah.
real life. And this is actually, I mean, to be honest, this is almost about consent a little bit because
Yeah,
she's consenting to her gay best friend being in bed with her,
yeah,
getting
yeah,
undressed in front of him.
yeah.
And not only is he not gay, it's not that he's not gay and he's
He's
also in
in
love
love
with
with
her.
her. So this is like, but by the way, bad approach. Like this is your way in.
Nobody's okay. Talk about an AI wedding speech. You need to AI this wedding speech because you cannot tell the truth of if these two ended up together, I'd be like, this is under lock and key. Nobody is going to find this funny at the wedding.
But also, did he have no other friends? Like, was his entire identity in high school as a young gay man, or was he like just holding on to this identity when he was with her?
I do find it interesting that a high school teacher is the one who took her aside and revealed his sexual orientation to her.
Yeah,
That's really interesting to me because I'm glad she did. It does feel predatory, but I just, yeah. Who else
yeah.
would have told her? I mean, I'm assuming he's telling everybody. It's not just her that he's telling is gay, that he's gay. He's telling everybody.
Mm,
Ooh, I don't like it.
I'm sorry, Rachel.
I'm getting the heebie-jeebies this whole podcast.
Okay, Cecilia. I got pregnant at 19 years old. Halfway through my pregnancy, my mom called me and told me she needed me to meet someone. My mom has always been a bit sketchy, shady. I don't know a better way to explain it, but she is my mom, so I always gave her a pass. Well, I met up with her at a coffee shop, like requested, and there was this random man sitting there with her. I sit down and she goes, What? I cheated on your dad 19 years ago. The dad who raised you is not your dad. This man is, he has cancer and has less than a year to live. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to meet him. Life also cheated and let my dad, who wasn't really my dad, think I was his kid the entire time and also lied to this man about having his kid. She was so nonchalant about it too. Never apologized. What? Never apologized either. I'm now 54 years old and I often think how different my life would have been had a sociopath not raised me.
This is horrendous. I'm speechless at this one.
This is insane.
This is its own documentary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is a tenor.
And also, how do you even if the lie is that big, how do you know that this is now the truth? That's what's
Hmm.
so scary about
Yeah,
these people, right? What's
yeah,
so scary is it's like even if they apologize and said all the right things, if you let them back into your life ever in any form, is this now the truth? Or are they I just want to know like do these people lie forever? Is there recovery in a situation like this? I don't know. We need a mental
mm,
health professional on here to tell us because I wouldn't be able to talk to this mom ever again. What's
yeah,
true and what's not if you can lie that big and you're casual about it.
Yeah, I think it's also, it's got to be somewhere in your mind. It's the no remorse. It's the no empathy. It's not having the feelings receptors that let you know that this is so hurtful, that this would hurt your child, that she didn't
Yes.
know who her dad was and that she has a dad that's
Yeah.
not really her dad. And now you're just casually bringing this guy to a diner when you're half like pregnant, and it's just all bad.
I can't imagine. I find it hard to even like, I mean, I don't really small lie about anything to my kids, but I find I mean, sometimes I do.
I
Like,
have one word for you.
what?
Santa.
Okay. If Santa was not real, which he is, everybody, he definitely is. Um, I would even dread the day that I had to reveal that he wasn't real, which he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for someone to do this, it's just so I can't, it's again, these are things that you can't comprehend. They don't make sense. They don't
No.
compute. Like you can't, yeah.
The tooth fairy.
Gabby, well, can you stop?
I'm just saying, because I was thinking about whether or not I lied. I think that sometimes, I mean, you never said something was closed when it wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I feel real guilty about that. No, honey. In and out's closed right now. I just go on my merry way.
I am definitely
There's a lot of things that
not
are
told the
close.
truth about some things.
Yeah, actually, I can't. No, you're bringing up. No, I
A
lie all
thing
the
or
time.
two with my kids, for sure.
No, for sure, for sure. There is they've run out of Rocky Road.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
just,
all out of, oh, completely out of that. Definitely, definitely. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And once they start getting a little bit older, I a real sticky one I have found,
Mhm,
because I consider myself someone who has, real conversations with my kids.
mhm.
And they're going to start asking you about things like, when did you first have sex? And when did you ever do drugs? And
Mm,
when
mhm,
did you have your
mhm,
first drink? And you're like,
mhm. 45. 45 is the answer to all of those, and I've never touched weed. And that's what you're gonna say.
It's really, I gotta tell you, it's
No, that's not fun. That's not fun. You know what's really funny? I mean, this is like complete kind of off topic, but when I was little, this is a white lie. My mom told me, um, I always wanted, and we just couldn't afford them, the Power Wheels cars.
Mhm.
And my mom told me that, and I wanted that. I was like, we can't afford it, but Santa can make anything. And she would always tell me, Camilla, it's going to take up a lot of room on the sleigh. So if
Yeah.
you're okay with some kids losing out on their toys to make way for your Barbie Power Wheels, go ahead and write it. And of course, I was like, oh my God, no, I can't do that. And so little the lot, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think that we lie to our kids more than we think we do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I did say on here just now that I don't tell many little lies, and I realized I tell many of them.
Yeah, many big ones.
Okay,
So sorry, just my last thing about the kids
no,
is that
go
I
tell
have
me.
noticed since they span from 8 to 17, I have noticed that there's I have to, like, when they ask me a question that I am not going to give them the honest answer to,
Hmm.
I have
Hmm.
to quickly calibrate how old they are and if they how old they are and if they will be able to
Yeah,
fact check.
that is important.
Yeah, because I'm not going to get caught.
No, but do your kids know your caught face because your mom knows it?
I know. Well, maybe from all these years of acting, I've gotten it better. No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't. I'm a
yeah.
bad liar. I am actually a bad liar.
I know. I think I am too. Okay, Gabby is really excited for this topic. She wrote,
Yeah.
I hope everyone is well, and I'm so excited for this topic. I have this friend who lies about everything for attention. Some examples are that she lies about getting injured and it doesn't correlate with a timeline she gives, lies about sleeping with people, oof, lies
Mm.
about moving, just
Hmm?
stuff like that. One time she lied saying that her car got flipped and rolled 3 times. Like, what the hell? Why in the
Mhm.
world would you want to lie about something so intense like that? She also said this after someone we knew had just rolled their car. I don't understand her and her logic, and I'm currently ghosting her because I just can't do it anymore. That sucks.
Mm. I think I had a friend in sixth grade who lied a lot.
Well, this is someone older. This is someone who
I was
can
like an adult.
drive.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get like there's going to be kids that, yeah.
Yeah, I went to grade school. Sorry.
I mean, we all, yes, we all had you know, the stupidest lies that I got told when I was little by other friends. I still think of one of them. Gladiators in the UK was like such a huge show. And she told me that the pink gladiator, who was my favorite, Jet in England, lived with her grandma and let her try on her uniform. And I was like, that's amazing. We were like 7.
See, but this is what I'm talking about. I think there's a window of lying that actually is just part of your development. I think that those lies, I think we're probably, I mean, maybe I'm just convincing myself that I don't have issues. But yeah, I think that that's normal, like having those lies. But it's when you're a grown up, that's different.
Okay.
Izzy, gosh, another just, I mean, what is wrong with people? I hate to say it, but my father turned out to be a massive liar. My dad is a firefighter, and for 5 months, he was carrying out a whole other life with a female cop who happened to work in the same city as him for 5 whole months. During these 5 months, my dad, mom, my brother, and I went on a family vacation. And this whole family vacation, he and the woman were in contact with each other. When my dad came out and told us about the affair, he said he would discontinue any contact with the woman. A few days later, my mom went to go talk with my dad at our yacht club because he was staying on the boat. Lo and behold, the woman was with him when my mom showed up. Ah, what's wrong with people?
What the heck? The dads aren't looking so good today. I mean,
No.
neither was
Well,
the
there was a
mom.
bad mom. There was a bad
It
mom in
was a
there
terrible
too.
mom too.
Bad to go talk with my dad at our yacht club because he was staying on the boat. Lo and behold, the woman was with him when my mom showed up. Ah, what's wrong with people?
What the heck? The dads aren't looking so good today. I mean,
No.
neither was
Well,
the
there was a
mom.
bad mom. There was a bad
It
mom in
was a
there
terrible
too.
mom too.
Bad liar. Lying liar. How do you deal with a liar?
Good question. How do you deal with a liar? I mean, when the lies are this big, I do think for the sake of your sanity, you can't have that person in your life.
Yeah, I was gonna say total abandon, jump ship.
But this is really hard. So, I mean, some of these people are related.
Or if you're married to them.
I mean, yeah, married, related. They're your mom, they're your dad.
Yeah. And by the way, the extent that they go through to do, I
I
have another
know.
bad story, a bad dad story. I just heard this from a friend of mine, that there was a dad who was like, again, picture perfect, like squeaky clean, always game, like always
Hmm.
taking the kids everywhere.
Hmm.
And he was with the daughter. I don't even know how old she was. Um, and she had his phone, and he kept getting hit up by this, but it was a contact that was like in there as like, I don't like not the right name.
Yeah.
And she looked at it, and it was sexy talk. And then because these things happen when you find them, you for some reason cannot look away. You have to keep looking.
Yeah. You
You
do the
got to
deep
start
dive.
scrolling. The finger comes out. You're
Yeah.
swiping. You're scrolling and swiping. You're doing all the things. And she got into some seriously
Ugh.
shenanigan territory. There was sex. There was boobs. There was all of it. All
Was
of
it
it.
one person?
Yes, but it had been going on for a very long time. Oh, I'm sorry. I
Wow.
forgot the punchline. It was her friend's mom.
No.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, for some reason, these crazy stories come out, and I'm like, oh, I guess so.
The friend is now involved, though. That's what sucks too. Now the
Yeah.
friend is involved. And how
Yeah.
does she feel about the mom?
And how does she tell them?
How does she? Yeah.
He should tell them. But then yeah,
Oh,
no. And then that's a heed the message, kill the messenger. The whole thing is just awful. Terrible, terrible. And that's the thing I think that I really don't like about liars is
yeah.
they really take people down. They change your life with lies.
Yeah. Well, your trust, well, I mean, there's so many things that are affected, but your foundation for trust feels really shaken,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it's just so wild, where you're listening to it and it's still like the person that we're talking about for us personally, I still can't compute. It still doesn't like
I
compute
think
for
that's why
me.
I accept it. So I'm like, oh, yeah, because I'm like,
It doesn't feel real almost.
no, it does
Yeah.
not feel real.
No. Mm-mm. And for these people, I imagine it takes a very long time, or maybe it never feel. I mean, to be honest, the one with the mom who said that, this is your dad, I would need the DNA test. I wouldn't even want to take her word on it.
Yeah.
Like, what makes me believe this new lie?
Yeah.
What's slightly terrifying is we made these videos and we put them out on Instagram and we just got so many submissions and they weren't small stories. I mean, we can dig into this more in another episode. Obviously, this is a huge subject affecting so many people. They were huge, huge, monumental betrayal.
Yeah.
Because that's what lying ends up being. It ends up being a betrayal of your trust, of your friendship. They literally had
we had hundreds of submissions.
Yeah, hundreds.
In like 24 hours.
Yeah. Frightening. It's frightening because you feel like you imagine that there aren't that many people walking around the world who can lie like this. And when you see from our crew the response, you're like, wait, this is so creepy.
Yeah. You know what I think makes for some good therapy after you've been lied to is talking about it. Like, I mean, like calling a friend and like just getting it all out. Like, because I feel like that's what's happened with this documentary is people just want to talk about it because they can't wrap their heads around it. They can't think of how, someone could ever lie like that. But I do have to say, and again, I was just a person that worked there as well, right? Like I'm not a huge part of the story, but I can tell you that the very many people who have reached out to me and wanted to talk about it, I think that they feel like and they're not even personally involved, but I think they feel better when they've just like heard a little bit more or talked it out. I think that it's so, just like you said, it's so unsettling to think that there are people out there who can behave that way.
Well, that's why it's interesting. And I think great when our crew write in and they give us their stories because I think sharing them, there's somebody else listening to this thinking my experience with this person was so wild. It must be so rare. And then you're hearing other people and you're like, wow, that's even worse, or that's the same, or that's
I know, but
crazy.
I'm not alone. And there's other people that are dealing with this. And yeah.
Exactly. Which is why we wanted to do this episode, because it does feel kind of isolating when you've been in a situation that feels insane.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I always find that when I'm dealing with people who I feel like I feel an instinct about that I can't trust, or if I have been in relationships with people where it's such an overused term these days, I think, but I actually mean it in the truest sense of its meaning, which is gaslighting, where someone's, you're saying, hey, I didn't love when this happened. And they're like, what are you talking about? That didn't happen. You're like,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure? And it's wild because of course it usually only happens when it's you and that person in conversation, right? Like when there's witnesses, it's a little bit harder. But yeah, I've had a couple people in my life where I'm like, can I just like put a GoPro on my head? Like, do you mind if I just videotape all of our interactions? Because this feels unsafe. Like you feel like being with you and being in a relationship with you makes me feel like I'm living in the upside down.
Yeah, I don't know if I could have very close relations with people that.
No, but sometimes you're forced into it. I mean, sometimes you just have people in your life where, either by circumstance or.
Yeah, of course.
All the different things, there they are. But I do think, I think that's my last thought on it, is that I do think that there are big fat liars out there. And I can only imagine that we all experience them. And that the only way out is through that lie and to talk about it with other people and figure out how to get right with it and understand that you didn't contribute to it and then send them on their way. And by the way, I feel like when people have, lied a lot, again, I'm a big fan of when people have lied a lot, I'm a big fan of getting your way to forgiveness. But I don't think you need to forget it. I think that was actually information that's necessary in going forward in a relationship with that person.
Yeah, agreed.
Bye-bye. Bye.
All right. I think we keep saying this, but it's only because the crew is just so incredible that I'm like, we'll pull this one off. We got to do more. We got to get through more of your submissions and stories. But for now, we're going to call it, Jess,
the end of the lying episode.